Now, as you're probably aware, this is the spookiest of all the months, and whilst I was researching my Roman Ghosts video last year, I happened upon a story of a Stone Age spectre. This is the story of the Stone Age ghost of Mottistone. Now, you all know the drill. If you hop on over to my Patreon, you can get access to these videos 48 hours early for just £1 a month. Alternatively, you can hop on over to my merch store where you can buy a t-shirt and have my moustache rub all over you. Whatever you do in your private time is up to you, and I'm not going to judge. Lastly, I have a book on Amazon that you can check out if you so wish. But the absolute best way to help support me is to like, subscribe, share, and tap that little bell icon to get notified whenever I upload. And with that, let's get back to the video. Now, before we get into the ghost story, we need to look at the origins of the Longstone where these otherworldly activities have been reported. According to legend, St. Catherine of Alexandria and the devil had a competition to see who would control the Isle of Wight. The contest was simply seeing who could toss some stones the furthest, with St. Catherine tossing the Longstone's tall iron sandstone pillar all the way from the down to the east, which now bears her name. Standing in at 4 metres tall and 2 metres wide, the Longstone wasn't exactly the light stone, so she definitely got some squats in before she lobbed it halfway across the island. The devil then had his turn, tossing the smaller 2.9 metre tall, 1.2 metre wide stone, but it fell short. This meant that St. Catherine had won and the devil had been defeated, with the story symbolising the triumph of good over evil. In 1956, excavations of the prehistoric monument revealed curbstones and a large ditch which would have gone around the mound when it was first constructed. These excavations were done by Chiquita Hawkes, the wife of Christopher Hawkes, and the first woman to take a degree in both archaeology and anthropology. She published her findings in the journal Antiquity the next year, and this revealed that the Longstone was actually the entrance to an ancient Neolithic long barrow. A long barrow was a place that Neolithic peoples in Europe would bury those who had passed on. The Longstone specifically was a communal long barrow, so there was multiple people sharing the underground space as their final resting place. The site is actually around 6,000 years old, coming in at 31 metres long, 9 metres wide and 2 metres high. Long barrows in this part of England are commonly made from chalk or limestone, so this place is a cool rarity. It's believed that the bodies of those who had passed on would be left out for birds and other local fauna to eat. After the little birdies had absolutely loved this bread, the bones would be buried in chambers and the soil piled up into a mound. The mound itself was probably a lot higher when it was seeing active use all of those years ago. It's also likely that people came here to worship the sun and the moon, which is a possible reason as to why the Longstone Barrow is aligned west to east. Now, there are definitely a few points in history when the site has been tampered with. During the time of the Saxons, the stones were possibly moved, and during the 19th century, a local squire called Lord Dillon dislodged the stones in an attempt to discover what was buried beneath them, but turned up nothing. Now, a disturbance of the site doesn't immediately mean vandalism, as humans have a habit of repurposing cultural, religious, and mystical centres as time goes on. In a way, it's like we still understand the importance of these areas, even if we don't really remember what they were originally used for. Around 4,000 years after its construction, for example, it's possible that it became a meeting place for Saxons to organise a moot. For those of you that don't know, a moot was basically a big meeting where judicial and administrative affairs were sorted out. The best part of all this is people still meet at the stones to this day. There are those who choose to go to Stonehenge for the summer or the winter solstice, but there are those who celebrate at the Longstone. The following experience comes from skeptical science writer Richard Cattle, published on the website On the Wight on the 7th of October 2019. The first thing I noticed, however, when I truly began to read this article was that they referred to the Longstone as a Mesolithic site, not a Neolithic site, whereas all my other sources referred to it as a Neolithic site. So take the following story with a pinch of salt. Cattle claims that he arrived at the prehistoric site via the pathways maintained by the National Trust. He eventually paused to enjoy the setting sun, staring at the Brightstone Down. However, as the sun began to set, the nice warm autumnal air gave way to an icy cold British night. Cattle then found his breath collecting in front of him and his hairs standing on end. It probably just means he's cold. After a while, he claims to have begun to have felt a sort of negative energy. At this point, Cattle claims he could feel someone watching him from his side. He turned slowly, understandably unnerved, as he dared look upon whatever was watching him. He then allegedly heard a voice which to begin with just sounded like a dog barking. However, Cattle was quickly able to make out the gruff voice repeatedly saying, "Choitsep, choitsep." With this, Cattle allegedly saw a shimmering shape materialise in front of him. Realising that absolutely no one would believe this story, he quickly whipped out his phone and got a picture. He wanted to take more pictures and a video, but when he tried, his phone shut off. It was fully charged moments earlier, and now the battery was completely flat. Now, I would put some healthy skepticism on this, but I think it's just safe to say he was probably using an iPhone. Although I will say the image included in the article kind of just looks like Mark Hamill in a posh fur coat holding a spear, and there seems to be some kind of vampire materialising behind him or inside him. Anyways, the apparition disappeared as quickly as it had appeared, and the chanting gave way to the chirping of crickets. So yeah, that was a nice little one for Halloween, and whilst I'm not sure where I sit on the story, it certainly was an interesting one. The idea of prehistoric spirits is a concept that isn't brought up all that often, and it's plagued me for a long time. Do ghosts have an expiration date for how long they can wander the earth? Anyways, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments below if you believe in the Stone Age ghost of Mottistone. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and tap that bell icon to get notified whenever I upload. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.